What's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to Season 2 of the Mindshare Podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at mindshare101.com and on all the major podcast platforms. This week's episode is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 103. Before building a business dedicated to helping realtors convert more leads online, he was an agent himself. He hated cold calling, but he had a knack for online marketing. Before long, he was working with one of the leading real estate brands, training hundreds of agents across North America to generate more leads online. One day, his mentor asked if he could hire him to do it for him, saying he wanted to just sell homes. And just like that, his company, Just Sell Homes, was born. Every day, he gets fired up about the opportunity to help other agents, teams, and vendors grow their businesses by driving real results online. He has spoken at many high-profile events, including the Annual NAR Convention, Inman News, OREA REALiTY Conference, and Banff Western Connection. He is also a good friend of mine. This week on the show, I am joined by Andrew Fogliato. Andrew, welcome back to the Mindshare Podcast.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
And you got my name right, which is always a win.
Well, it's funny. I was about to make the joke and sort of do like the overemphasize the G like I hear everybody else doing. Yeah. I mean, I almost feel I probably correct people about your last name as much as you have to. So I got you, bro. I got you.
A lot of the time now, I actually just stop correcting. It's just easier.
Well, it's funny because I get some people, they're like, I didn't even know. Is it Fogliato? I'm like, listen, here's how it goes. But no, man, it's definitely good to have you back on. I know I was reading off the bio there and I thought, wait a second. We haven't listed off the Blue Mountain Real Estate Conference, which unfortunately we did not get to do this year.
It's looking positive that I could be one of the first live events back next year.
Very exciting. I guess plans are already in the works for that.
Very tentatively, but I mean, looking at like the vaccine news coming out and what like Trudeau is saying about when they expect people to get it, it's not unrealistic to think that we could do it next summer. The only thing we won't know is like, would we have to like have people prove they've been vaccinated or something? But the beauty of that conference and the way that we set it up, I could pull it together in like 30 days or less if I needed to. Because that was actually year one of the conference. I did it on 30 days notice. Like it was like a spur of the moment thing. So like it's doable. Obviously we'd prefer to have as much notice as possible to organize the conference. But I know if I needed to, I could pull it off in 30 days or less. So we might
we're still talking like similar timelines, kind of summertime thing.
Yeah. So it'd be July. Yeah. Like assuming we can get the venue, which I can't imagine will be that much of a challenge. Right now.
For anybody that doesn't know, Andrew's been putting on this conference for the past couple of years now in Blue Mountain. So for anybody that's from Ontario, you know the Blue Mountain area. Anybody that's not is absolutely gorgeous. It is a beautiful venue to be at. And everybody has a really, really solid time. I mean, the learning is just, first class for sure. We've got a lot of great people that come up and join, and you do a great job putting that together with the team. The Just Sell Homes team. And then naturally, just because of the place where we are, even the sort of, post-learning activities are always a lot of fun as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed for that one to come up.
Yeah, now I will say this, though. We are planning to move that to an invitation-only conference in the future. So we'll see. I don't know when I'll make that transition, but eventually it will become an invite-only conference.
So wait a second. Me inviting myself doesn't count anymore?
Nope, you have to get invited.
Oh, geez, man. I guess it was a fun past couple of years.
Yeah, you had a
good luck with the rest of it.
Yeah, been nice knowing you.
Yeah. And thanks for being here today. No, man. So let me start with this right here. Agent says to you, because they say to both of us all the time, and by all means, agents, keep it coming. We love it. But agent says, I need help with my social media. What is the first thing that you say back to them?
What have you been doing so far? Because you got to know what they're doing. Like the big thing is a lot of people look for like a one size fits all approach. Like what's the best thing to do on social? But that really depends on like how much time you have available, what your budget is, what type of thing you're willing to put out there. Just because like, yeah, like you hear it's cliche at this point, but being vulnerable and authentic, yada, yada, yada. Like that stuff works on social. It does if it's real.
Right.
Like faking vulnerability, faking authenticity, that doesn't work. And if you're not willing to do like that true stuff, there's still strategies that can work for you. So like that first step we always do is kind of a bit of an exploratory process of like, what are you willing to do? How much work are you willing to put in? What kind of budget? Because like if you have a budget, then there's a little bit more professional designs that might go into it, higher quality content. Maybe someone else is creating some of that content for you. And you can change the approach a lot. So it's a big, like in an ideal world, like I'll give you an example. When we bring on a new client where we're doing their organic marketing for them, I mean, it's a couple grand a month, but they come in, like we do a Zoom interview, we get that interview transcribed. And that whole thing is like, we're diving deep on a specific talk about them. So maybe it's like, we're going to take their farm neighborhood. We're going to basically grill them to get every piece of information about the neighborhood that we can from them in their voice. We'll get that transcribed, but then we'll send a photographer out to do a photo shoot with them for social content. And then we can put that all together into truly custom content across the board. Like clients who are willing to do that type of commitment, it's way more effective. But there's also people who are like, no, just like, grab articles, share them, put good captions, that type of thing. So it's always that first step is like kind of getting them to commit to what they're realistically willing to do. Because I'm sure you've seen it. Agents are like, yeah, I'll do a video every week. 6 months later, you have one video.
Well, I mean, I laugh about that all the time. And I say to people all the time, I'm like, oh, you do video, eh? So when was your last one? Well, we did one back in the summer and we're thinking of doing another one for the holidays. No, you don't do video.
Yeah.
Right. It's the consistency around anything, which comes right back to the idea around social. And I love what you said about the, be authentic, be genuine. I mean, we say that all the time and it's sincere. This is what you need to do, but you need to be sincere about it.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm coming into social and I'm out there and I'm selling and I'm doing my thing, and I love what you just brought up about the way you guys go about that. I want to dive deeper into that so everybody really gets a good handle on how that all works. But I'm an agent and I say, I want to step up my game. So we start diving into what are they already doing, right? And a lot of times we get that idea around fear. I'm scared to post. I'm not sure what other people are going to think about me. I'm not sure, why is what I have to say important? And I'll always come back and say, well, are you scrolling social? Yeah. So do you feel that other people have more important things to say than you? Well, no, not really. So then why aren't you posting anything? I don't know what to post. What would you say to people in that light then? What can they do to kind of get over that fear? And then what kind of things, when we talk about being real, being genuine, can they put in as, content that, or even stuff that could be easy break the ice type stuff?
The easiest place to start, and I actually got this from a guy named Nick Kuzmich, the idea from him, is the first 10 pieces of content, just think of what are the 10 most common questions you get from clients. And that could be as simple as like, what's a bully offer? To like more complex things about a specific neighborhood and whether they should rent or lease in it and like different things like that. But first you write down like, what are the 10 most common questions I get? Then it's what are the 10 most common questions I should be asked, but most people don't know to ask yet. So a great example of that would be like people who sell cottages. If you're going to buy a cottage, you need to know about shore road allowances. If you don't know what that is, you can get in trouble buying a cottage. And you can kind of shoot yourself in the foot. But majority of people have no idea to even ask about what a shore road allowance is. So you should have content on your site breaking down things like that. So it's 10, what are the most common questions you get? Then what are the common questions you should be asked, but they just don't know to? And then just as you're out and about with clients, every time you get a question, write it down. Just write down that question. And that's another piece of content. Like, I used to do that all the time. If a client would say something to me, I just write it down. Like, I'll even do it now. I'll go into like real estate agent Facebook groups and I'll look at like, what are people asking in the marketing realm? And I'll pull out the 10 most recent questions and I'll go do a blog post or a video on each of them.
I'll tell you,
asking it and other people are Googling it.
And much the same, I'll pay attention to a lot of that stuff because you get to see what is that common theme, right? And so you and I are going into, let's say, groups that have realtors in them that are talking about marketing. We want to understand what is going on out there. What can we help more people with right now?
Yeah.
For a realtor, they can go into groups that have to do with their community, have to do with interests, things that they, for me, Leafs groups and Harley groups and hockey groups and baseball groups. And that's the type of stuff that I can tap into and go find commonalities with those people. Much the same as what we're saying is go in and find people there.
Yeah. And we always say this, like, it also comes down to like, who's your niche that you're going after? And a lot of people are like, oh, but I'll work with anybody, which can be true. But the idea with niching down isn't just that's only who you work with. It's that that's who you're creating raving fans about, who will put your name out there with everyone else. Like a great example are Facebook groups with agents. There are some groups you go into. Someone's like, who do you know for Facebook ads? You see an endless stream of people tagging me.
Yeah.
You can go to another agent Facebook group and someone asks the same question and my name won't even come up.
Right.
Because that group that I spent time in and I built relationships in it. So I've created people who are outside of my niche, but the people in my niche who know them will tag me in it. Same with agents. Like if you have a local community group and you're active in it and people like you, well, you have this group of people now who anywhere else across Facebook, you like someone's asking about an agent, they'll start tagging you in clients who aren't in your niche. But it's like that niche, you're also just creating an army of people who will refer you business and help you get more business. So it's not just this is who I'm going to work with. It's this is who I'm drilling down on to basically become an army of people to help promote myself.
Okay, so let's even go there for a second, because I think as we, the big question was, how do I up my social game? This is an important one. This goes across any channel of marketing, but determine your niche.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times in real estate, you're absolutely right. It'll be, well, I'll work with anybody. And, you could say homeowners, but I'm going to say there's millions of homeowners. So which ones?
Yeah.
How does one determine their niche? What maybe high level or drill down points can we give people today that could help them determine their niche that they can leverage on a social platform?
So if you've been in the business a while, the easiest way is to look at your past clients. And I mean, we've all heard the thing of like that 80% of your results come from 20% of your clients. Take that 20%, then break that 20% down again by that same principle of where do 80% of the results from that 20% come from? Pretty sure you're left with 4%. I assume my math is right there. But of that 4% group, that's who your niche is. Who are those people? So you just look at your list and you kind of drill down. You're like, okay, that 4% of people are my most engaged people that are out there. And that's who likes doing business with me. Those are going to refer me the most. So I'm going to kind of target them. If you're newer in the business, you don't have that history. I will generally say just go for people like you, because that's the easiest to relate to, because you don't want a niche where you don't actually like the people. You really have to like them. And the easiest way is to kind of go with people that like you and are similar to you. Like when I started in real estate, when I was selling, I was 25, I think, around there. And I went with first time buyers because that was my niche. And like, because I noticed like when I was door knocking, I would knock on a door and they had a kid my age, but it was probably like in the basement smoking pot. That makes it a little bit harder for them to hire me to sell their, $2 million property. So I started going for the kids.
Right.
When I target the parents, I do an ad like, get your kids out of the basement, help them buy their first home. Done them in my first time home buyer seminar. And
creative. I like it.
Yeah, just a different approach, because I knew like most like people who are younger, they're more likely to trust me at the time. And I looked really young. So like I started getting glasses to wear to like look smarter. Smarter when I was at the door. And I was like, I grew a beard because it made me look a little bit older. Like I was doing everything I could not to look young.
But I'm not worried about that. The idea is to connect with the people that are like-minded to you, people that you want to deal with. And I mean, we've said the same thing with even picking a farm area, which again goes hand in hand with this, because if you are going to farm a neighborhood and you are going to put the effort in, then you should be running some sort of online digital strategy to go ahead and get those people through the online world as well, not just the offline world. But it is, again, pick a neighborhood that has people that you want to deal with, people that you could see yourself talking to, people you could see yourself sitting down at their kitchen table and not feeling like, oh my God, can I get out of here already? What's that?
Yeah. Ideally, you live in that neighborhood too.
There's another one. Exactly.
Yeah, because then it's just like an easy thing, like just walk your dog all the time. And then like I used to love doing it, things like this. I've talked about it on stage, quite a few stages where like whether you're walking a dog or like I used to coach basketball, and I didn't want to be that annoying coach with the kids being like, by the way, sell real estate. Let's chat. So what I started doing is just being like, I would target the gym with ads. So at the time I was with Remax. So I'd be like, the ad would be like my face here, and then right here be the giant Remax balloon. That was the entire ad. There was no like text with it. It was just Remax balloon, my face. And I would just like play that to the gym during the times that I was there coaching. And you get parents come to me and like, funny coincidence, I just saw on Facebook that you're in real estate. We actually are thinking of selling. And I've started a ton of conversations that way where they would just come up to me and start talking about it. And I'm like, this is great. I'm like, what a funny coincidence it is.
Yeah, wow, really? You saw my ad? Go figure.
And this was actually back when Facebook truly charged based on the outcome you chose. So back then, like if you said, I want to pay for like traffic to my website, if no one went to your website, you didn't pay.
Right.
And now it's like, if no one goes to your website after a certain amount of time, they charge you anyways. But this was like, there was a brief window way back then where like, if no one clicked, they didn't charge you. So I actually set up the ad in a way that basically discouraged people from clicking. I just wanted to see it. So I basically got the ads for free at the time too. So it worked.
Well, I remember the first time I asked you, we were at a conference and I walked up and I'm like, dude, why do I keep seeing your ads? And then you literally went, come here, let me show you something. You showed me on the computer how you like zeroed into like that building in this area. And I thought I was blown away by that. I thought that was really, really cool stuff. But talk about, attacking an, I don't know if that's such a niche market as much as a target market for that particular moment, right? But you can take that stuff and drill right down. But
direct mail, it works in conjunction with it.
It all goes hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
But now the big thing comes back to, though, if you're not out there being organic and putting the content together, and I love this new program that you guys have put together, which I want to dive into more, but if you're not out there doing things, then things aren't going to happen, and spending money just to solve the thing is not going to have the same, it'll have reward, it can have some return, but it's not going to have the same type of reward or return that you would get if you were actively engaged, right?
Like we've noticed with our clients, the ones who are like active and engaged on social themselves on top of what we do, they're the ones getting the best results.
There you go.
Like we do have clients, like for the first client, my mentor who got me into it, when I asked him to give me access to his Facebook page, he didn't even know how to log on to Facebook. He's like, outside of going to facebook.com, I don't know what to do. And so we had to do like the whole forgot password route to even get into his account. And then we got into the wrong account because he had accidentally set up a different account. Like it was a pain in the ass. So like they eventually had success, but that was mainly because he built his business cold calling and became number 2 in town on the back of cold calling. So when I was generating him leads, he was great at hounding those leads until they followed up with them, because a crappy lead is still better than cold calling.
Right.
So he was really good at that. But like when you get past that, like when you get to most agents who are having success with us, they're still active on social. They're still out there engaging with people. Like I can't fake, like say I took over Mindshare 101 social as an example.
Yeah.
And I start having a conversation as David Greenspan Mindshare 101 business page. And I go back and forth with an agent. Like I see James' hand is on here. So say hypothetically, I chatted with James for like 20 minutes back and forth in a Facebook chat from your page. Then you run into James the next day and he starts bringing up that conversation. If you don't know that conversation, there's a problem.
There you go,
right?
right?
Like all of a sudden, all that goodwill you just built the day before is gone. Because now it's like, oh, here's this impersonal guy who doesn't even know me, has no recollection of what we were talking about. So like, in an ideal, like there is some clients we handle their engagement for them, but we do it only if it's like a brand level account, in the sense of like, say you were a team, we wouldn't handle like your David Greenspan account.
Right. You just handle, let's say, the Mindshare 101, but not the David Green. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So then we'd like, and sometimes we'll even sign it from like a team member, like
right.
We'll make up something like that. But ideally, in an ideal world, the client's still doing the active engagement and we're just creating all the content that drives a lot of it.
You had said something earlier, and I don't know if these two tie in together for what we just said about engagement, but when we were on Kathleen's event earlier on this morning, you had mentioned something about comments, and I tried to take the notes properly here, so forgive me, but you had said something about comments, and you had quoted Lincoln.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's a Lincoln quote. I'm pretty sure it's
and I caught you say that. Yeah. So like we'll just put that into like.
So this is one of those like I saw it online attributed to Lincoln, but I've also seen "Don't believe everything you read on the internet" by Abraham Lincoln,
right?
Which is my favorite Lincoln quote. But so this one, the idea is people would rather shut their mouth and appear stupid than open it and remove all doubt.
There it was. Yes, thank you. Let's talk more about that. Yeah.
So this is the idea of like when a lot of the reason people don't comment and engage with people on social, especially in this era where everything is a little sensitive right now, because the world's a bit of a shit show, pardon my French.
Why? What happened? No, I'm joking.
Not much.
Let's not get into that.
Pretty uneventful. But people aren't as willing to like put themselves out there like that with comments. Like I can't even tell you, for me, who's pretty active online, I've certainly typed and deleted without posting more comments than I've actually posted. Because I was like, it's not worth the fight. It's not worth the, crap show that everything ends up being. But stories, when people reply to them, it's a one-to-one private communication.
You know what, man? Sorry to cut you off there. I know that, but when you said it, it was like from here to there, and you went, yeah, right? People would much rather almost DM than do the big public comment.
Because they're not putting themselves out there at all.
Right.
And then I know with like me and my business, which is a little bit different than agents, a lot of people are like scared sometimes to like comment or like engage in Facebook groups for me, because it's like they don't want their competition to know what they're up to.
Right.
But they'll DM all day because it's private. So we get like, I will tell you, like for every post I do, like if you look at comments versus DMs, it's probably like a 10-to-1 ratio. Right. I get way more DMs than I do. Like sometimes like it's hard to keep up with my DMs, easy to keep up. Like you have a better chance sometimes of getting an answer from me now by publicly commenting on something than you will in the DM. Is it's just, that's the volume difference we have in like stories, the amount of replies that come from it. And you'll see every now and then I'll throw up a post being like, do you want to join our mailing list? And I'll put up like the question box, free to do. And every time 5 to 10 email addresses get added to our mailing list, and all I did was drop a question box on it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy.
So but the idea there is that there's a lot of fear from people around that. So, getting over the fear then, right? And we kind of started from this part too on today's convo is, I guess, how do I get past that fear?
Yeah, the video side of it is like generally fears. I don't like how I look. I don't like how I sound. But that's just how you look and how you sound. So you just got to do it.
But even the simplicity of just putting up a post, like I've told, Andrew, I've told people, like, if you really don't know what to post, go take a picture of the beautiful sunset with the colors of the sky, put it up and say, wow, what a night. Yeah. Like so simple. And so many people would go, but like, what value does that bring? And it's almost like, there's not. But that sunset with the sky, people probably like seeing the photo and might even actually click like and engage with your post, which could start getting you over that fear of clicking the button to post.
Yeah, where I would start with even that one as the example of, instead of just saying, wow, what a nice sunset. Yeah. Talk about where you are. Like, there you go. This is my favorite place in town to look at the sunset because you get this view overlooking here and you get this and you get this. Like, add a little context. Like, really, that's all you need to do is add context to the photo and tell a story about it, which is your current story. You might not be like, hey, this might not be the most valuable post, but some people find that stuff interesting. Like, I've done it with mountain biking where I'd be like, this is my favorite path. This section here, as I come around the turn where like the river's on the side, the sun breaks through the trees. And I got the nice pine trees on either side. And like, that's my favorite section of trail. I'll just share that. Well, if I just share that photo and be like, what a great view, that doesn't have nearly as much meaning to a lot of people reading it as me talking about how this is my favorite part of the ride coming around that corner. Like just being descriptive with what
put some more context around it.
Into it. Yeah. And people always are worried about like, well, people aren't going to read that long thing. Of course they're going to read it. People don't read. It's not that they won't read long content. It's that they won't read shitty content.
Right. Or salesy.
Yeah. Like not every post is like all caps, come see my new listing alert. Like people don't care about that. Yeah. But like if you share your listing, talk about the listing like you would with another human being. Like I would think about if I was an agent and I was going to go post it and I had to sit down at the cross-window table with my wife and tell her about the listing, what would I tell her? That's how you should post on here. So be like, hun, you would love this kitchen. They got like this entertainer's island. I would just love having some parties there. And, whether depending on how your relationship is, you'd be like, we could have some people over for dinner with some maps on there, or like it's perfect for beer pong, right? Like depending on who your relationship is, put it, right? Like it's so easy to do. Other great ones we've seen this year have been huge, similar engagement in comments, but the save and the share feature have gone up a lot is our text comment or text images. So basically like a solid color background. And like you can go to my profile and go a few, like I might even be months now. This time of this year is thrown off in my head. And it's like basic Facebook ad tips with an arrow for you to swipe. and swipe, and it's like the next card is one tip, the next card's another tip, the next card's another tip, the next card's another tip. Similar engagement and comments as a regular post, but so many shares and so many saves. And those are ones that can really drive more business in, when people are saving your content for later, or they're sharing it with other people because that brings them in. It's like we would do this with agents too, is like, if you have like 3 tips for investing or 4 reasons to move into this neighborhood, do it as like a text-based post, and it doesn't have to be that fancy, and it works. And you're not putting yourself out there. Like, you're just sharing really good information. Like, see if I can find the name of the account. It gets a ton of engagement, and there's so much personality into it.
Well, we know that, I mean, when we look at types of posts for Facebook, we know that the big text post, which is very similar to what you're talking about here, where you're putting up some text on a blank, like a colored background, but you're talking more of the carousel almost feature, I think, right?
Like, I like this one. So it's just like, it's an entire account around stuff like this. And every single post they do is just like white text on black background, or black on white, or black.
But they're
on
tap throughs though.
Yeah. So it's a slide. So you slide over the next one.
Right.
But that's all it is, just endless advice. Now, this one, it's like a little bit of a funny one where they're always using the F word in it and doing stuff like that.
What's the – no, Joey.
The at is actually just good design advice, but design, they removed all the vowels from it. So it's good DSGN advice.
Cool. And that'll give people a good example.
You can go through there and just see like their ideal clients. Like, yeah, they're going to turn off a lot of people because they use the F word a lot.
Yeah.
But they have 221,000 followers.
Wow.
And that there's no personality behind that outside of we swear a lot. And like some of the, like their last post, be a good effing person.
Right.
That's the entire post.
And people are just drawn to it. Go figure. Well, it was like I think Peter this morning. Was his name Peter, the guy that was on with us on that group? You know, he was doing his thing, and all of a sudden it was funny because I had it on in the background. He said something, and he goes, and this was like a porn star's house, and it was all of a sudden, literally, your eyes went to the back to the screen to go, what? And he literally called it out. Not that he could see everybody, and he's like, I bet you everybody just started looking at their screen again. So it's almost now. I'm not advocating that everybody talk about porn stars or swearing. I'm just saying that. There's something there.
You need to get people's attention. And that's why this account, I think, works well, is it's basically the same advice. Like, if you just did a post that says be a good person, there's a million posts. Just by adding the F word into it, it stands out. Like, that's one of the reasons over a pint I do it with beer, because it stands out against other podcasts, because like, especially for guests, they get to come on and have a beer. Like, that just stands out.
I remember when you pulled into my office at 10 o'clock one morning with like 4 tall boys. It was a pretty productive or unproductive day after that.
Yeah, like I know there's an agent who he has like a house porn feature on his Instagram, which is just like sharing really good things. But house porn is actually a very popular hashtag.
Yeah.
But he makes it more unique, but he adds the eggplant emoji after.
Okay.
That stands out.
Interesting.
Because people don't expect a marketer to use the eggplant emoji in their marketing because of how inappropriate it is. But he knows what it is. He knows his audience, and he knows it can work. But it's finding those things that for your audience is okay. And it's like, even with Over a Pint is a pretty vanilla example for like, we have gotten crap for it for promoting alcoholism.
Right.
But I've gotten way more people who love it. Now, when weed was legalized in Canada, I made a joke.
I remember that.
Becoming over a joint. I think we'd lose a lot more people doing that. But just sharing that joke, I got probably 24 private messages being like, I want to be your first guest if you actually do this. Like, people were excited because they thought I was actually going to launch over a joint.
That would have been kind of funny, actually.
Yeah.
But I was saying there was the 3 types, because we got the big text, like you mentioned. There's the picture post, which you've talked about, and the live, which you've brought up. And for everybody, again, those are your 3 big engagement type of posts. So if you're thinking, what kind of content can I put out to social, that's the type of stuff. Now, you also use the word stories, and I wanted to ask you about that and say, would you suggest that, I mean, I believe everybody should be using stories. I think they're an amazing mind share hack. I mean, the fact that they just, every time you're active on your story, it stays at the top of my feed. It's right there. So every time I log in, as long as you've got something active, I will see you. Do you suggest that people take advantage of stories versus their feed if they're more comfortable, less comfortable? Should they be integrating both? What's your take on that? And maybe what advice / tips have we got for people on that stuff?
I would go heavier on stories than I would on my feed.
Heavier on stories than feed. Yep, I agree with you. Okay,
like,
cool.
You can get away with one post a month. Like I would do more than one a month, but you know what I mean? Like for instance, like even on my personal Instagram, which has seen a pretty steady growth rate once I started trying. And it's been going pretty well. I don't post that often, and it's not even consistent. Like one week I might do 3, the next week I might do 1, then I might do none for 2 weeks, but I still do pretty regular stories. Like even the 75 hard thing I'm doing right now, the amount of replies I get every time I post the like update on it is off the charts. Like it's been huge for engagement. Yeah, I turn some people off because they're like, okay, I don't want to see that thing again and again and again. But the engagement has shot up just from posting that one little thing every day. And the nice thing about it is it disappears. So it's not just sitting there, and you can keep bringing in new things and trying it out. And like surprisingly too, because I have them auto post to Facebook, I will often get just as much engagement from Facebook stories now as I do. And so I now automatically have all my Instagram stories automatically pushed to Facebook because I get a lot of engagement off that too.
Business or personal?
To my personal.
Yeah, likewise. And you know what I had recently, I just saw the other day, Facebook had done something. They said, hey, you can, I don't remember what the feature's called now, but it was that idea that you could actually select where you want to toggle that to. And for some reason, my Instagram, which is not a business account very much on purpose, was driving to my business page stories on Facebook, which does not get high engagement. I saw this feature pop up on Facebook and it said something about you can toggle this stuff and choose where it goes and whatever. And I said, oh, cool. I'm going to connect Instagram stories to Facebook stories, but to my personal. And I mean, I'm blown away by the amount of engagement I'm getting on Facebook stories now, which I was never getting before. And for those that follow, I story like an animal. I love stories. I have a lot of fun with them because they're raw. You can literally do almost whatever you want with them and they're gone in 24 hours. But they're a fun way to engage with people. And back to the idea about public comments versus DMs. I mean, I get tremendous engagement through my stories. I have conversations all day, every day with people about that stuff.
Yeah. People love sliding in the DMs. It's great.
Yeah. Right. But it's a quick and dirty way to connect with people, you know, and then sometimes people even get surprised that you've actually answered back, that you're not just some talking head. Right.
Well, that's the key, is you always have to respond.
That's the thing.
Like,
but it's important though, right?
Message, like if it's a message that's inappropriate or it really is someone you don't want to, then you just like double tap, like the comment, and then don't respond. But at the very least, just double tap. But just respond, even if you're saying thanks.
Yeah.
Or start a conversation, like, because at the end of the day, what's going to drive more business? It's having more conversations with people.
It's being social on social media.
It's easy.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
that's really what it comes down to. Yeah.
And it's no different like if you're at a party. If someone talks to you, you acknowledge them and have a conversation.
So
it's done digitally now.
Okay, so here, I'm at a party and I'm going there for a few hours at nighttime, and I'm sure we're all dying to get back to this normal world, but I'm going there for a few hours at nighttime. Number one, I'm only there for a couple hours, so I know I can put on my dancing shoes for the nighttime. The whole day, I don't have to worry about this stuff. I've got, say, 2 or 3 hours at this party. That's the time that I'm putting into it. What about time for social media throughout a day? What kind of time should people be dedicating to social? How should they be? And I mean, again, I got my 2 cents and all my mindshare masters understand, you know, the way I look at it in terms of like how to block that time, because I believe that every time we pick this thing up, we're going down a rabbit hole and we don't realize how much time we actually spend. But, and I think it was you for sure. This was probably a few years ago now. And I don't know that you still do this, but I remember you said you had some timer or some app that like locked you out from doing anything further if you started to like go beyond a certain amount of time.
I had that. I had to turn it off. Okay. Because it also would shut me out of the ads manager, which I couldn't lock myself out of client.
Sorry, Facebook says I'm not allowed in. No.
So in that sense, I don't use it, but you can, like, in terms of time, it does partially depend on strategy. Like, you could actually have a very successful strategy and never post yourself ever if all you do is engage. So like, I can't remember who came up with the concept, and I've read it before. It's just like the 5-5-5, which is you like 5 posts, you comment 5 times, and you send 5 DMs.
Yep.
It's simple. It works. How long does that take you to do? 10 minutes. Like you show up to a show and early, pull up your Instagram, like a few posts, leave a few comments, send a few messages, then come back to it, when you got another 10 minutes here and there, and do that again. So you can have that successful strategy without ever posting. It's better to also post from time to time. And that, like, story-wise, is the least time investment, because it's just while you're out and about.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a house and you're looking at something and you're like, oh, that's something that people really need to pay attention to. Take out your phone and be like, this is something you guys need to pay attention to when you're looking at a house.
Yeah.
And just add that little bit of context to it. I always use her example because it was really well done. It was a story of an agent up here in Newmarket where she was showing a kitchen, and there's like the gap between the top of the cupboard and the ceiling, and there's like that 1-inch gap.
Yeah.
And she just showed over story the handyman she brought in, who was just closing the gap. And she's like, this is something that, most people don't think about, but makes a room look much better when you go to sell. And then showed him do it, and then pulled out, and you see the finished product. You're like, that looks a million times better. And it's just not something most people think about. That quick little story is one of the biggest trust builders in the fact that you're an expert and you know what you're doing, and it took 10 seconds to do. And it's just those little things add up.
And you know what, then I love the 5-5-5 concept. I kind of work it as a 10-10-10 only by saying Facebook and Instagram, kind of spending, that time on each, where you're connecting, let's say, send out your 5 friend requests, follow 5 people, comment on 5 posts in your feed, comment on 5 posts in your stories, right? And you go through, and now you're engaging with a whole bunch of people. You can do that in probably about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And now you've done your engagement. And yeah, if you do that 2-3 times a day, you've spent 30 minutes engaging with people. You might not even posted anything at that point. Yeah. And you're still really taking your social media game up a number of levels. So in fact, to that, in terms of platforms, is there, obviously, we know that Facebook is your jam. I know you also operate within the Instagram world heavily. Should we be using one or the other, or both, or is there one that maybe you suggest that we haven't listed? Are you into TikTok and that type of stuff? Like, what do you recommend for people?
So Facebook is obviously where I get the majority of my business.
For sure.
That's where the most new people come to us. And that's like when we know with clients, a lot of new people, where Instagram is really good is that conversion. So it's a great nurture and conversion tool, and showing the behind the scenes and getting people who already follow you, but maybe don't do much to build the relationship more. We haven't seen nearly as much on Instagram of like bringing in new people, but we see a lot of that conversion side. In terms of TikTok, there actually is a ton of value there. And I think there's some really interesting use cases of it, but I think for a lot of agents, it's not the highest best use of their time. Like same with Twitter. Like to me, like the Twitter's actually my favorite social network, and arguably the one I actually spend the most time on personally.
Really? Now, are you posting a lot, or are you just watching the ticker of news that comes
from time to time? But for me, it's more a personal thing and professional development. So like
okay.
I love basketball, so I follow a ton of basketball stuff. I'm also
okay, hold on. Sidebar, hold that thought. Are the Raptors going to be playing in Toronto this upcoming year, yes or no?
Probably not.
Oh, man.
They're starting next month. Like, how are they gonna?
I know. They're just talking about all these different places down in the States.
Anyways, they'll probably end up in the
States. Let's not take this one like we did with Over the Pine and go 2 hours on basketball and then all of a sudden.
That worked out because we talked about Kawhi and then he won us a championship.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so TikTok. There's value there. Twitter, I love Twitter. But like the difference is with like Twitter, like you have to be a good writer because visuals mean nothing on Twitter.
Okay, right.
So like if you can't write a concise, well thought out thing in 280 characters or less, you're not going to do well, and you have to engage. Like I see so many agents that like used to follow me back in the day who like all they post is like it's their Facebook feed, and it's just like pushing their Facebook feed. So they'll do like 3 words and then the link to their Facebook post. And they've been doing it since like 2015, and there hasn't been a single like since 2015. You're like, this actually just makes you look worse. I'd rather you just lock the account and have no one see it, because it's never going to do anything for you.
Like admitted, I'm totally guilty of that because I still believe that one of my Facebook pages is connected to my Twitter, which feeds content there. And the content that goes to my Facebook, again, and I know it's not applicable to Twitter. because it's, it could be image heavy or whatever else. And quite frankly, I don't monitor Twitter enough to.
But agents aren't that active on there.
That's the other thing too.
I like it a lot for me because so this is where you actually might find some value too, is listening. So a lot of brand marketers for social are very active on there. Right. So back, I think it was like in April, Adweek, which is like a publication online, they did a post of like, I want to meet people behind the brand accounts, like who runs these big brand accounts. I'll start. My name is Julian. I run the Adweek account. And then a guy's like, hey, I'm Adrian. I run Aviation Gin social media. And then someone's like, hey, I can't remember her name, but she runs Hilton Hotels social media.
Wow. So you started to connect with a lot of people.
And like it blew up and we had 3,000 comments and you had like the people behind Pokemon, the people behind Nintendo, the people behind all these different brands accounts. And then we all started following each other. And I just sit there and listen, like, what are the big brands doing on social? How are they looking at it? How are they getting engagement? And it's really interesting to watch what they're doing and learning from them and taking, because not every principle that big brands would use works for like local businesses, but you can still take quite a bit of them. So we do that a lot. It's just looking at what they're doing, repurposing the content to make it. So I learn a lot from there as well. Like I've never found great tips for like paid social on there. That's more of like Facebook groups, stuff like that. And maybe it's just because I kind of know a lot about paid social. I've never found anything valuable or what I already know. But on the organic side, I've gotten quite a bit of good, interesting things from it. And it's been pretty valuable on that front. And then I just enjoy for the other one is I always joke about this. What happens on Twitter takes 2 to 4 days to make its way over to Facebook and Instagram.
Got it.
So like people will say in like my Facebook group, like, you're so on it with memes. I'm like, I'm really not. I'm just on Twitter where they happened 3 days ago. I just brought it over here before anyone else. Or I adapt it to real estate.
Twitter, when first started, was into the hashtag thing.
Yeah, that's what born like.
Right. And then Instagram, and then Facebook, and then no Facebook, and now we're back to Facebook. What's the deal here?
Facebook groups are great.
No, but I'm talking like hashtags.
Oh yeah, no, hashtags are useless on Facebook.
Like useless because I've seen recent posts that have actually talked to the fact that Facebook is now trying to make a comeback with the whole hashtag thing. And quite frankly, like I'll use it as a branding expedition. Pardon me?
They've been trying for years.
Well, this is the thing. I'll use it as branding expedition. So when I put it up, if you see like a Mindshare 101 or even on the podcast here as we're going live, right? I'll put up the hashtag of Mindshare 101 and, 3 or 4 hashtags. And it's more about brand than it is about searchability, right? Yeah. Whereas Instagram, you'll see posts go up that, you can go up to 30 hashtags. And it's said that if you want your post to be found and through the Explorer feeds and everything else, that you should be using more hashtags on Instagram. But back to the Facebook thing, are you saying like don't even bother with it?
Yeah, I don't, unless it's a branding thing.
Okay.
I don't care.
Okay.
I just find it doesn't really matter and doesn't have an impact. Like even Instagram, I found they're less and less valuable. Like I found about like when I actually dive into analytics, because I set up like my account as a creator account, which has more in-depth insights on it. Only about 5% of my views and stuff comes from hashtags. 95% is from people who follow me.
Right.
And most of my followers come from engagement and just being out there. So like when I'm out in the community and doing stuff, when I'm speaking at conferences, like when I sold real estate, I remember this, like when I would go and, coach basketball, I'd get parents following me. When I would be out, like, and doing the rec sports leagues, you get the people following you, and that's building up the local stuff. And then getting like local businesses to retweet what I'm doing. Different things like that. But in terms of like using hashtags for people to discover you, I haven't really found it's driven that much business to it. Like we get the odd follower here and there from them. But it's rare that that's been like a valuable follower for us.
So it's a lot more about like your internal network. So, okay, let me ask you this then. I want to generate more leads on social media. I've listened to what you've been teaching me today. I'm going through and saying, okay, I understand the types of posts that are going to be that are going to create more engagement. I got your message about don't just make it about big bull caps about listing, but give value, give context around things, talk about your favorite mountain biking trail because it does provide value to people. It does let people into who you are. So I understand now the types of posts. We've talked about the time involved that I should somewhat sort of be dedicating to my social media throughout a day. And, we talked about how to engage and whatnot. And, stories take like 3 seconds. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to take advantage of it from an organic perspective of just literally picking up your phone and just clicking some buttons. And again, having a purpose for what you do. But we also know what Just Sell Homes does for a living and how you guys have helped so many people across our industry generate a ton of business through social media, and that's through the advertising channel. So the first thing is, I think we've broken this down today to sort of go, you don't have to spend money on social to make it work, but if you do the things you're supposed to be doing, when you do spend some money, you can literally now take your stuff way up.
Yeah.
So, the question in there would be then, what is the best way to spend money on social media? And how could I generate more leads?
So before I
on
even
the
spend
overall
money, more leads, these leads can be done organically. So the first thing is we call it lead magnets, which is really just a term for I'm going to give you something in exchange you have to give me your contact information. That could be a PDF, it could be your mailing list, but you have to have a reason. So like if I went back to sales today, I would have, for instance, I'd set up a Linktree link in my bio. You click it and it'd be like, download our guide on how to prepare your home for sale here. Request a free home evaluation. I live in Newmarket, so it'd be like the Newmarket price report. And that would be a big one, but it's always having something to invite someone to. So like I would go back, if I'm back to sales today, I would send out a weekly newsletter that was just like, here's the best deals that came on the market in the last week, and here's what sold in the last week and what that means for you. Just a quick email that goes off every Friday maybe, or every Monday. I'd have to play around with the date and see what works best. But send out a regular market update. And that's something I can always invite someone to get their contact information. And then it's just you start dripping them with emails over time with really good information and go from there. So it's having something to offer them. And then when you put money behind it, you're offering those.
Okay. Sorry. I want to piece this together for everybody because we get this so clearly. This is one of those missing pieces that I try to explain to everybody. The lead magnet, guys. What are you going to put together that's going to create a desire for me to take action to give me your information so that you can get that lead? It's not just about spending the money or having the Facebook account. There's got to be something there. Right. So for example, if you guys want to know how to communicate better, go to my website and download your free copy of the 7 Ways to Communicate ebook. There's my lead magnet. Right. But you've got to put the time and the effort into doing that. Now, just to bring that full circle to go, well, what the hell do I do? Go back to what Andrew said off the top of today and say, what are the 10 questions you get asked most? What could you write about that you could give people answers back?
Yeah. And even an easy lead magnet, like for instance, what I've done, I bought perfectlistingad.com and you could just download like my most popular lead magnet is just, it's a template of how to run a listing ad the right way to get leads. If you're an agent, like what's something you could give someone today that gets them a quick win?
Right.
So that could be, here's 3 things you can do today to make your home worth more money when you go to sell. And I bet you if we went to every agent that's on this right now and said, can you physically write down 3 things someone could start and finish today that would help them sell their home for more money or quicker? I would hope that they could all say yes. Well, write those 3 things down, go on Fiverr, get someone to put a little design to it, and you just made your first lead magnet in under an hour sometimes. Like it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be this well thought out, crazy in-depth 80-page ebook. In fact, I don't want you making 80-page ebooks. If you have an 80-page ebook, turn that into 40 lead magnets. You have a lot there, but it's creating those. And they don't even have to be like a lead magnet in the sense of like a PDF that they're getting in return. Like a mailing list that regularly sends them something of value is a lead magnet if there's something of value that you're sending. Like if you're sending the latest pumpkin pie recipe, yeah, that might not get you business, but a regular update on what's going on in the local market with your insight, and that's the key, is adding your insight to it, people will sign up. Because everyone wants to know, like at their neighborhood level, like if you farm an area, like we have a client up in the Barrie area who works this neighborhood called Fifth Line. So with her, we created the Fifth Line price report. There's not enough turnover to send it more than once a month, but once a month she sends out the Fifth Line price report and
sends it out how?
Email.
Got it. Okay.
But we advertise it like crazy in the neighborhood to sign up for the price report. When they send
social media ads.
When they send out just listed postcards, just sold postcards, the other side of it talks about the price report. When they did open houses before the pandemic hit, If you came into the open house on the sign-in sheet, would you like to get updates about the fifth line real estate market? And just everywhere we could, we asked people to sign up for it. And because we only advertise in that area, we basically built a list of homeowners in the area. Well, you know what happens when you have a list of homeowners in an area? You're going to have buyers at some point. You have a buyer looking to move into fifth line, you just send an email out to this list and be like, hey, John and Sarah are looking to get a 4-bedroom home in fifth line. Have you heard of any neighbors thinking of selling? ? End of email. And you send that out.
And it's I love what you said there, because it's about building the list, and it wasn't just the ads or just the email or just the postcards or just the sign-in sheet. It was using all of those different channels, that omni-channel approach, to now go after that one goal that we have, is to build up this list. Yeah. Now, this was something else you brought up earlier, and I love this point that you brought up, because I think it's something that everybody needs to understand is, the list that you have in Messenger. And we've heard this before. If underline, bold, whatever, if Facebook and even Instagram shut down, where are you getting your contacts back? Because they aren't yours right now. They're a list. They're in those guys' systems. They're not in yours. So you mentioned something about Messenger list and move it to email and all that earlier. And I thought we'd dive into that for a second here as we talk about lists.
Yeah, and this goes back to you have to have something to offer them to get their contact information from. Right. So your Instagram stories, if you have a listing, do like a little preview. Be like, if you want me to email you the rest of the details about this listing, put your email in the question box here. You got their email now. Now you add them to your mailing list. You send them info about it. When you have open houses, you're asking for reasons to email them. And maybe if you're not ready to add them to your mailing list, you'd be like, check this box if you'd like us to email you updates about this property and if it sells. And then when it sells, you could have permission to at least one time email them all an update. Then at the end of that, be like, would you like to get our fifth line price report about, other homes for sale and what's sold and how much it's sold for in the area? Or you have a new listing coming up that's similar, email all those people, be like, hey, you were at my open house for this one. We actually have a very similar listing coming up next week. It's just around the corner. It's a little bit more renovated, a little bit more expensive. Would you like more details about it? And then you just flip that off to them.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Cause I know with both, Instagram Facebook and both LinkedIn, there's actual processes that you can export your contact list.
So
and this is something, sorry,
don't do that.
Why?
Because it's not the proper permission to advertise, and it's against their terms of service. So you're more likely to get kicked off the platform and banned.
So if you do an export of your contact list from Facebook,
you have to get them to opt into your list. So you have to get them to
the people that
list. So your Facebook contact list, your Instagram contact list,
right?
You have to get them to opt into your mailing list if you're doing it the right
and that's
way.
a castle rule.
Yeah,
right. But what does that have to do with Facebook then?
So it's against Facebook's terms of service to export your list that way. So if you got caught, they would ban your account.
So if you go in and actually do an export of your Facebook account, your Facebook contact list,
and then
Facebook might go in and actually say you're banned.
If they catch you that you exported your Facebook list, took all their contact information, added into a mailing list, and then started emailing them, Facebook will shut your account down if they find out.
If they find out that you were emailing them, not if they find out you were exporting the list.
If you just export the list, no, but
okay, I was going to say, so why do they have the feature? Okay, got you. Yeah. And look, I would caution anybody as well. Understand, especially up here north of the border with Castle. I know down the States they have the same thing as well. But the Canadian anti-spam legislation, it is law, so it's real, and you could actually get fined a lot of money for sending an email. So you got to pay attention to permission-based. Spending money on social. If I decide I'm listening today and I say, you know what, look, I think my organic game is pretty good. And if it's not, I can certainly get in touch with Just Sell Homes and go through, talk to you guys about what you can do to help me with more organic. That being said, though, I think my organic game's on point. I think I'm doing a good job across my platforms. I got a good presence, but I want to step it up. I want to go to that next level, and I have done my marketing budget. I've gone through my Mindshare Model T, and I've analyzed how much money can I go and spend on my marketing this year, and I've got this nut that allows me to say, you know what, I've got X amount of dollars to go and spend on Facebook. What kind of dollars should that be? What should I be expecting? What is suggested? And I know this could go into the hundreds and thousands and millions. And I know that guys that are spending stupid amounts of money, or they see the ROI, so it works for them, but we would consider it stupid. What would you suggest to sort of your forgive me, everybody, your average realtor, right? Who's maybe not just won the lottery, but does have a couple dollars to go, you know what, I do want to put this towards. What kind of dollars should they be thinking?
So our average client spends between 500 and 750 in ad spend a month. Our
Okay.
fee obviously is separate from that.
Right.
That is kind of roughly, if you want to take it seriously, you want to assume you're going to spend 500 to 750 a month.
On
Now,
ad spend.
ad spend. If you're
Okay.
doing it
Yeah.
yourself, you can get that down to like 300 and do some simple campaigns. You can even just advertise your listings when you get them, spend $50 a listing, and you can get 20, 30, 40, 50 leads for that. So there's a few different approaches you can take. If you're just doing like branding, like if you just say, I want to make sure this neighborhood, essentially, I have a digital bus bench that's always shown, that's $2 a day.
Right.
Like it's not expensive. But if you want leads and you want branding, you want to build mind share, $500, $600, $700 a month is where you eventually want to get to.
And management, I mean, I don't want to get
it.
into the nitty gritty because I know you guys offer like a wide gamut of options. So it's
Yeah.
there's no, pigeonholing on this, but is it,
Yeah,
am I,
generally we have, well, like you can just send us your listings for $150 and we'll advertise it for a week for $150.
okay.
But if we're doing your monthly stuff, like managing that
Yeah.
500, 750, our fee starts at $1,000 a month.
Okay, cool. So it's something that people need to budget for though.
Yeah. Like, and you have to be able to carry that. Cause like, even if you got a lead today, could be a couple of months till they find a house, then it could be a couple of months till closing. So what we say is like, whatever that amount is, you should be able to carry it for at least 6 months too.
Okay,
So
so
like,
about 6
if
months.
someone comes to me and says, we're going to hire you, and what we make in month 1 and maybe month 2, we're going to pay for month 2 and 3 with it, you're not going to be a client now.
Right.
Because like you're not going to turn around and put money in your pocket that quick with real estate. Like if you're selling t-shirts and it's like, I run an ad, someone clicks on it and buys the shirt and you're reinvesting that money, that's very different. Because like you could have that money in your account in 7 days once it passes through all the systems. Real estate, it could be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 8 months until the money's in your account. So there is a much longer kind of payoff there that it takes, but it's worth it.
I was going to say, what's the biggest misconception of somebody who's going, I'm just going to go and hire somebody to do my social media?
Yeah. There's no silver bullet. A lot of people think there's like a magical campaign that's going to be a silver bullet for their business. And like we used to have a package where we would just run like a single campaign for you at a time. You could like hire us to generate seller leads. We found everyone who was on those packages never did well with it. So we now make you, if you're signing up, you have to full up to our full package, and because it takes multiple accounts, it takes multiple campaigns, different ways of showing the ad. Like it's a lot more involved than just here's one home eval campaign and we're going to run that forever.
So this is about repetition and consistency.
Yeah.
And the biggest,
what your market responds to. Like if I run an ad in Burlington, I can get $4 seller leads. I can run the same ad next door in Oakville and they'll be at $50 a lead.
right?
Like different markets respond differently. So there's no like one size fits all. It takes time. Like we look at Facebook ads as like gold mining, right? Like you have to send out the prospectors. They're all looking for that mine. And then once one of those prospectors finds a mine, everybody comes and mines the hell out of that until it's exhausted. Then they go out again and look for the next mine. That's like with ads. We'll put out a bunch of ads. Once we find one that's hitting, we pull the budget and push it into that one until it's exhausted. Once those numbers don't work anymore, we go start looking for another ad that works well again. And eventually you build up a stable of like 4 or 5 campaigns that work pretty consistently, and you can run 2 and turn off the other 3 to give them a break. And then when those 2 start getting exhausted, you turn them off, bring another 1 or 2 on, and you start cycling through them all the time.
So there's a lot of trial and error that happens. Yeah. And the big misconception would be, that's it. I'm going to hire somebody to do this and everything's just going to light up and I'm going to get tons of business.
Yeah. I mean, we can get you a lot of leads right away if you have listings. Like listings is cheap, like $1 to $3 a lead we're averaging right now. So if you have listings all the time and you want hundreds of leads, and they don't have to be your listings, to be honest. You can just send us any listings as long as you have permission to market.
Got it.
If you want a lot of leads, you can do that, but those are a lot of work to convert too.
Okay. And so to that, then, if we said, I'm going to hire you to do that, I'm going to give you a listing. You said it's only $150 a week, a week or a month?
A week for a listing.
Okay. So it's only, I kind of look at it this way and I go, it's only this much, it's only whatever. And this guy's going to, can generate me a ton of leads. What kind of time is involved on my behalf? And B, what other pieces, like we talked about the actual lead magnet, like having the value add the ebook, but I could probably argue myself right now and say that the listing itself is the lead magnet
Yeah,
because people
that's
want
what
more interest on the home, right? So what, I guess, what kind of time and what else do I need to be doing as outside of just going, let me pay you?
Well, in an ideal world, you're calling every lead that comes in. You're picking up the
Jeez.
phone and you're
Okay.
calling. Now, we have
So
clients who are
time
too
management.
busy to call,
Yeah.
and there's automations that you can set up or we could set up that's like it'll text and email the leads for you until they respond and then you jump in.
Is that stuff really
Um,
effective?
yeah, it's not going to be as effective as
Okay.
calling them,
Yep.
but it depends how you do the automation too. So like we like to do it in a way where we will say it's automated. So we'll be like, "Hi, this is Bruce. I'm Andrew from Remax's virtual assistant. He might be with a client right now. I'll get back to you as soon as you can. What interested you about this property?"
Right.
And then when someone responds to that, or we might just frame it as like, "Hey, this is Andrew from Just Sell Homes," assuming that was a real brokerage. I'd be like, "Hey, this is Andrew from Just Sell Homes. Saw you were looking at this listing online. What interested you about it? Or were you looking at it for yourself or as an investment?" When they respond, I get notified, and then I just have to respond to those engaging with it. You're not going to convert as many that way as if you picked up the phone and called. But for
Right.
those who don't have the time, because like we see this all the time, a lot of agents will be like, "No, I'll call all the leads. It's fine." And they don't call any ever. Well, if that's the case and you're honest about the fact that you're never going to call a lead, there's systems we can put in place that will help you convert. It'll convert at a lower level, but the ROI is still there if you're willing to work it. So we do customize a little bit based on what someone's willing to do and what type of realistic commitment they're willing to make.
And so there's more of it involved than just pulling out your checkbook and going, here you go, to Just Sell Homes or to any company. There's more involved. You have to put in some effort into this thing because, as you mentioned before, it is social media,
Yeah.
and it's a matter of actually connecting with people. But the beauty is if you can generate the leads properly through you guys, and now you can serve up these opportunities for me to have real conversations. As long as I manage my time properly and I put in the W, I got a good chance of converting.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's like how much money, like everything you want to take off your plate because you don't have time to do it, you have to pay someone to do that
There you go.
or it doesn't get done. So like we have a package that's $3,500 a month.
Yeah.
That is essentially, do you want to hire someone full-time in-house that you have to train, or we could be your full-time in-house team?
Right.
And it's cheaper than hiring that person. Plus you get our expertise, but you still have to afford $3,500 a month for our fee. Plus you also then have to pay for the ad. So like, on that package, you're talking $4,500 a month.
Right.
If you're willing to invest that, we can get you results and basically do everything but call them for you.
Yeah.
But you got to pay them.
but listen, it's a process, and this is the thing, right? And this is again where, I mean, I continue to say it on a regular, and you are totally echoing this right now. And I mean, we both know this off air. There's a lot of synergy in the way we think about this stuff. It's, no matter which angle we're coming from, be it paper, email, phone calls, social media, you name it, it really goes hand in hand with each other, right? All of these channels need to be leveraged together in order for you really to have a lot of success out there these days, because there's just a ton of noise out there.
Yeah.
To that then, like in terms of the types of ads, obviously having a listing is a great way to go about it. Is there anything else just high level in terms of, and first of all, I'm going to say it, I don't even have to ask Andrew, you guys, that there's a feature called Boost. He hates that word. It's almost like a bad word in his language. Don't boost a post. It's a waste. Go through and actually use the ads manager. And if you've got no idea where to start, connect with Andrew, connect with the team. These guys will walk you right through everything and show you either A, how to do it, or B, just do it for you. Right. Yeah. But what's the best type of thing people can do? So post wise or just ad wise?
Don't overcomplicate it. Just think about what people want. Sellers want a buyer for their house. Buyers want a house to live in. So if you don't have a listing, advertise a list of homes. That could be a list of homes under a certain price. That could be a list of a certain type of home. Like, yes, you can do like homes under 800,000, depending on the area you're in, that number will change. But you could also say homes between 500 and 800, because sometimes you want to set a floor so you don't get people responding being like, "No, I only have a $200,000 budget." Well, if I put right in the ad 500, but then sometimes you might be like, "I'm not even going to talk about price. I'm going to say, get a list of homes with acreage, get a list of homes with a pool," because everyone seems to want that these days. So it's adding those pieces in and just saying, "You guys want a house? I will give you a list of all the homes available of this specific type." And you can make it really simple. What's your ideal client? What type of home do they want right now? Great. Here's that list of homes. Don't overcomplicate it.
Buddy, the hours run fast these days. What last words or tips can you share? And we're just about to open up our VIP room the minute we get off air. So everybody that's sitting there, Mindshare Masters in the VIP room right now, hang tight, have your questions ready, because we are going to bring you on camera shortly as we get off of the Facebook Live. That being said, what last words or tips can you share with anybody or everybody who's tuned in so that they can get out there and just help themselves build a whole bunch more Mindshare?
Just get started. Your first stuff will suck, probably. And then your second thing will also probably still suck. But over time, it will get better. Like if you go into my Facebook group, The Wheelhouse, you will see some, like my first video I posted in there. It's like the welcome video to my real estate YouTube channel. Like you might have to scroll back a bit. If you go to the video tab, you can find it. You'll see the one where I look super young and I'm clean shaven, thin. It's a wonderful time. It's a bad video. Like, and I don't just mean like, oh, it was bad, but then other people are like, no, it was actually good. Like, no, like everyone universally agrees that was a bad video. Like there was nothing good about what happened on that video. Whereas now I at least think I'm pretty good on video. I could be better, certainly, but I was atrociously bad. Like it was one of those things you were looking at, like, it's not even funny to watch. It's so bad. You're just sitting there like, oh no, why did he put that online? Like it's bad. And then my second video was just as bad. And the topic was, what's the difference between a customer and a client? Because I had just finished the real estate courses and I'd learned what the difference between a client and a customer was. And I was like, yeah, sure, other people would care about this. They did not. It was a bad video, but like it was like iPad leaned up, so it was like going up my nose, no energy on it. And like I was wearing a blazer and I had like randomly, I was with Remax, they had a stained glass Remax window behind me. So it screwed up the lighting. It was bad. Just a very, very bad few videos at the beginning. But I started doing it more and more. And like one advice I always like to give is like, they always say the camera adds 10 pounds, but it also cuts your personality in half. So you have to like pump yourself up a little bit, speak a little, like, you know what it's like when you go on stage. That's not who that volume you speak at, the energy you have is not the same when you sit at a table and have a beer with someone.
Absolutely.
But on video, that's how it comes across. That's how it is. So like how I'm speaking to you right now is louder than I normally talk. I'm speaking up and I'm puffing the chest out more than I usually would. But if you came and sat with me at a beer, you would think it's that same person, because the camera cuts off half your personality. So you have to pick it up a little just to seem normal on camera.
I like that. I like that piece of advice. I never thought about it that way, but it's true. You sort of bring yourself up to that level. And we've seen people who even do video, they'll look in the camera and there's not a lot of expression in the eyes or in the face, but they're delivering a message. But the minute that you can actually light it up just a little bit, give a little bit more of yourself, now you're engaging people. And it's just, it's not that maybe ho-hum conversation. So, but I like that, because those videos that you had done back then, and I'll tell you much the exact same thing with me, and I've shown them before to many, many people on big stages. I've even played them, and then like you get people clapping, you're like, oh no, that was really bad. I can't even believe I just played that. But without getting started, we don't get to where we are today, and we don't get to be better tomorrow. You know, so I like that piece of advice. Just get started. Just sell homes. Andrew, where can people find you if anybody wants to connect, learn more, get in touch with you, get in touch with the team to talk more? Where can people go?
You can add me on Facebook or Instagram. You can just look up my name, or you can look up Just Sell Homes. You can go to justsellhomes.com, or if you just want to book a chat with me directly, go to bookandrew.ca, and that goes to my calendar booking link, and you can book a call right into my calendar, and we can chat anytime you want.
Awesome. I encourage everybody, get in touch with him, get in touch with his team, book that time. You know, you can learn a ton. Every time I talk to you, I learn more. And I just say thank you for that. Thank you for everything you're doing out there. And thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You're either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you downloaded our free Industry Syndicate podcast app, or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com, and while you're on my site, make sure to download your free copy of the 7 Ways to Communicate ebook to help you build more mindshare so that you can get more market share. And if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching to help you get to your next level, just get in touch with me. We'll set up a free consultation call. We'll learn more about what you're looking to achieve and, well, how I will help you do just that. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan101. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.